It's been a while since we've seen Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina, and to the credit of Marvel Studios, they've managed to hide her role in Wakanda Forever pretty well. The cat's out of the bag now, of course, and the former Veep is free to celebrate her cameo in the movie, just as we're free to speculate on what Valentina's agenda really is. Join us for today's video that's all about Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. First up, the actress posted a selfie with Martin Freeman to celebrate. It's a pretty basic selfie, and the two stars in it aren't even in character. However, Julia did poke some fun at their roles in the movie, calling him her ex. Now, this might be a spoiler for the movie, but we think it's a cute selfie and nothing really more than that. But we're biased since we love Julia. In fact, you might say that we eat, pray, and love her. Wait, that might be the wrong Julia. Moving on, let's talk about Valentina's role in Wakanda Forever. As the people of Wakanda grieve T'Challa, we learn that the CIA and the Navy SEALs have detected a new deposit of vibranium underwater using a machine that's basically a high-tech metal detector. While they assume that no one has claimed that vibranium because it's in international waters, they quickly find out the hard way that they were encroaching on the territory of Talokan. The CIA assumes that they were attacked by Wakandans, pitting the two against each other. Luckily for the Wakandans, they have an inside contact with the CIA, Everett Ross, who we meet in the previous movie. He tells them that the high-tech metal detector was created by Riri Williams, which leads Shuri and Okoye to pay her a visit. Now, CIA agents can't just give out classified info, and that gets Everett into trouble with the director of the CIA, who happens to be his ex-wife, who happens to be Valentina. You know, we gotta applaud Everett's taste. So Valentina's role in the movie happens to just be about taking Everett out of the story. But wow, that CIA director twist really is something. Based on her cheery appearances in other movies, few people would have guessed that she was in such a higher-up position. That's got our Marvel senses tingling. We've got to figure out what this means for her future in the MCU. Now, before doing that, let's revisit her past. Valentina, who happens to be a Contessa, was first introduced to us in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She manipulates the events of the show from behind the scenes, and once John Walker loses his status as Captain America, she pops up to offer the guy a new job. More specifically, she recruits him to some sort of team, and we know now that that team is the Thunderbolts. Her next appearance comes in the post-credits scene of Black Widow. There, she pays a visit to the graveyard where Yelena Belova is mourning the death of her older sister Natasha. Val once again proves her status as one of America's leading job creators by offering Yelena a job. All she has to do is kill Clint Barton. This turns out to be really convenient for Yelena because she thinks Clint killed her sister, so she was probably gonna go and whack the former Avenger at some point anyway. That doesn't happen, of course. Clint explains the truth to Yelena, and the two of them share a moment of grief for the woman they love. We also later find out that Val was acting on behalf of someone else in ordering the hit on Clint, Eleanor Bishop, Kate's mom. It looks like her job at the CIA is pretty new, and we don't find out how she got to that spot. This is where we enter the land of theory crafting and speculation. Coming up, there are a few reasons why an American alphabet agency would be taking an interest in the heroes. The role of the US government was first established in the MCU through S.H.I.E.L.D.
Sorry about what happened with Fury. Messed up what happened to him.
Thank you.
That organization basically came up with the Avengers Initiative, and it was on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s behalf that Nick Fury recruited Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and Steve Rogers to form a superhuman team to defend the world. This was all well and good, until it turned out that S.H.I.E.L.D. had been infiltrated by Hydra, and the whole organization was compromised. The organization is still around, but its role seems to be minimized a lot. Between the Chitauri invasion, the Sokovia incident, and all the other nasty things the Avengers had individually gotten caught up in, Thaddeus Ross decided that the heroes of Earth needed to be reined in. That's when he presented the Sokovia Accords to the Avengers, an act that would allow the government oversight and control of all superhumans on Earth. This didn't go over well. The schism it caused between Tony and Steve basically led to the Avengers being fractured and Earth being vulnerable to big purple aliens with a love of jewelry.
The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
Now that the works of Thanos have been reversed, the US government's position towards the heroes is less clear. She-Hulk revealed that the Sokovia Accords have been repealed, but we've also been seeing more from damage control lately. But what are Valentina and the CIA specifically up to? Next up, it's worth remembering at this point that the Thunderbolts are Marvel's Suicide Squad. We're all familiar with the Suicide Squad at this point, at least in concept. Teams like them and the Thunderbolts are usually teams of superpowered folks who carry out the work of the US government. Sometimes that involves saving the world, But often, teams like these are primarily focused on US interests. Saving Earth or whatever is just a bonus. From the outline we have of the Thunderbolts, this is Valentina's team, and Ross is involved, played by Harrison Ford, by the way. Ross is a former military general, and at least as of the blip, Secretary of State. Val, meanwhile, is now director of the CIA, and we can imagine that the Thunderbolts are going to exist to do their dirty work. After all, there is certainly a real-life tradition of secretaries of state working with the CIA to advance secret agendas. Since Ross is involved, we're sure that the Thunderbolts are going to have a bone to pick with the good guy heroes.
Avengers!
Or maybe they'll specifically work to undermine and neutralize the ones who used to be the Avengers. That would be another reason why Val would want to have Clint assassinated after all. Could this mean there will be a target on the backs of Thor and Bruce too? Also, the Thunderbolts could be a long-term institution in the MCU. Putting together a team like this isn't easy, and we doubt that Val and Ross would throw them away after just whacking the Avengers, of whom only 3 are left alive anyway. We think that the government will want to keep the Thunderbolts around long-term, a version of the Avengers that answers to the US government. It's a larger-scale version equivalent of their attempt to get a Captain America who will follow the government's orders. That also explains, to an extent, the lineup of the team, which was partially revealed earlier this year. Yelena and Taskmaster can be their Black Widows, handling the more covert missions and doing all the spying. John Walker is, of course, their super soldier who still has a pretty Americanish look and gimmick. Ghost, meanwhile, is a pretty powerful character who can be useful in a fight. We're not entirely sure why the Red Guardian and Bucky are on the team, though. The Red Guardian was the Soviet Union's attempt at a Captain America, so you wouldn't expect him to be on an American super team. And Bucky is trying to be a good guy, so the Thunderbolts are a bad fit for him. Those concerns aside, though, this is reminiscent of Nick Fury building the Avengers team, only darker.
The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people, see if they could become something more.
Now they're missing a Hulk, but you know, it's about time Ross fulfilled his destiny, we think. Finally, how likely is it that the Thunderbolts last? We say that it isn't too likely, and part of that has to do with the team's membership. Unlike the Suicide Squad, which was made up of characters who definitely lean towards the villainous side of the spectrum, the Thunderbolts are made up of characters who are fundamentally good guys. Taskmaster and Ghost were villains, but they were pretty well redeemed by the end of their movies. The thing is, Val has kind of been set up as the overarching, ground-level villain of the multiverse saga. While a segment of the heroes is busy dealing with multiverse stuff, people like the new Captain America are getting pulled into the machinations of Val and the Thunderbolts. We're pretty sure that these guys will get extremely wrecked by the time Thunderbolts wrap up, which means that whatever Val and Ross want, this team might be a one-and-done affair. We wouldn't mind having our expectations subverted, though. One of the things that the multiverse saga is making clear is that the world could really use an Avengers-esque team of superheroes to defend it. Sure, Val's gotta go, and Ross can join her in the bin, but the Thunderbolts could be kept around in general. It all depends on what Kevin Feige has in store for this team's future, we guess. That's it for today's video. What do you think of our ideas for Val's future? Let us know your opinions and theories in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.